You're listening to Siren 107.3 FM with me, Andrew David, the boss, as usual, in on a Monday, doing his little bit of drive thing. Lovely to get guests coming, and in some senses, I'm getting a returning guest. You'll explain all in a minute when I tell you that I'm going to meet somebody who's coming back to science. Now, if you wonder what I'm talking about coming back to science, all will be revealed with the physicist, Fiona Bissett, who joins me in the studio. Fiona, good evening.
Good evening, hello.
Now, what's a returning researcher? Because why did you disappear in the first place, I ask?
Well, I studied physics at University in Edinburgh in 2001, so quite a long time ago. And since there, I've done a few little jobs, but mainly been raising my family. So my boys are now both at school, and so I've spent the last 10 years at home, and I've loved it.
And isn't that, well, in some senses, for me as a bloke, I just suddenly think, it's not a waste, but you've done all your training, you've done all your studying, and then you decide to have a family. And it's like, at that point, the world says, well, that's it, you've done. But it's so lovely that you've been able to think, I can come back, because what I'd learned before is still valid.
Yes, well, I didn't think that I would be able to come back, and then I saw the Return to Science Fellowship advertised and thought, this is an amazing opportunity.
Let me take you back on that line. You felt, after you've made the decision to have a family and to look after your boys, that you couldn't come back. That's almost a terrible waste of the previous bit of your life, isn't it?
Yes, and I kind of felt that, but I wondered who would want somebody who is 13, 14 years since graduation. The knowledge is a bit rusty.
Well, yes, but the basic principles of what you were trained haven't changed much. It's just, the way it's applied, I think.
That's true, yes.
So the basic tenets that you were trained to hold true.
Yes, that's right.
And of course now the big push is for STEM, science, technology, engineering and mathematics. So you're a very marketable person, I'd have thought.
Yes, I guess that's true. But I just feel it's a wonderful opportunity because not only do I get to come back and have the sort of grace period of being allowed to redevelop those skills, but there's also training alongside it. So I'm going to get to have training on the side. So the general research skills as well as grant proposals, all that sort of thing that you need as a researcher. To get back in and to know what to do for the future.
Have you noticed over the gap much change in the way things were when you left and things are now in the whole of your industry? You're part of the woods.
I would say things probably have moved on. It's hard to tell.
Well, I'm just thinking, the equipment that you use, all the stuff that, is available now, I imagine is quite different. Technology has moved on hugely. So the things that you can draw on and the things that you can use, computing power, not least.
Indeed, yes.
Is just awesome. It changes every 6 months and over the sort of time.
My little niche is computational physics, and so yes, computing power has changed massively.
So you probably have in your hand the same computing power that you had with a couple of big computers 10 years ago.
Yeah, it certainly got smaller.
So just talk about the area that you work on, computational
physics. So
what does that mean to a bloke who just plays music on the radio?
It's using computer modelling for molecules. And so the idea is that the calculations are so complex and so numerous that you couldn't possibly do it by hand. And so you use computing power to be able to figure out what's going on.
And going back to my question before, because you've got now more computing power, does that make it easier or does it throw up more and more questions, the results you get?
I guess it probably means that there's more that you can do. So
right.
Yes.
And it makes your job easier.
Yeah.
What and you talk about molecules and you're working on molecules. Can you talk about exactly what you're working on at the moment, or is it very secret?
It's not secret, but I'm working my way up to understanding what I'm doing. The idea of the return to science is that you're coming back in, and so I have a reasonable idea of what I'm going to be doing, but I will certainly learn more and more as we go along. At the moment, I'm kind of
just getting used to the way it works.
To the whole thing, yeah. We're only a little while in.
Fantastic. Did you know how many you were up against in order to win this fellowship, or did you just apply?
I applied, and the application process was actually approaching the department you wanted to work with, coming up with a research proposal and submitting that, basically. There was application forms as well, but that was the main part of your application. So.
And that, I often find the application process the most irksome and the most time-consuming and tedious. Was it, or was it a relatively straightforward?
It was great. I think there's great enthusiasm there. I'm with the brand new School of Maths and Physics, and so the team there, while small at the moment, will be growing, but they're really enthusiastic. They've got a lot going on to get it off the ground, ready for undergraduates in September.
And you're in the new Joseph Banks, that area?
We're near there. We're in Charlotte Scott.
There you go. And
Currently.
that development out there is quite extraordinary, isn't it?
Yes,
You know,
it's
the
wonderful.
university sort of expanding
Yeah.
and absorbing all the places that actually have a resonance with, past science, the big engineering stuff that they had out there. There is a sense of trying to regenerate in a place where there's perhaps some ghosts of people past.
Yes, I mean, the Joseph Banks buildings and the buildings round about are certainly beautiful and very industrial looking, and it's...
How's it going to affect the family? Are they excited about you going back to work?
They are excited. However, the wonderful thing is it doesn't really affect them.
So they don't
because
notice?
They don't particularly notice because it's meant to be flexible. It's for people who are returning and, generally speaking, probably for family reasons. And so the idea that it's flexible is wonderful. So I can still drop my kids off and pick them up and work part-time. And so instead of doing it 1 year full-time, I'm doing it 2 years part-time.
Brilliant.
So
Lovely.
it's absolutely fantastic.
Lovely.
So
So-
my kids don't notice a difference.
Except
currently.
that perhaps your brain's working a bit more.
My brain's working.
You're
yes.
sparkling, you're
They think
bouncing.
mummy's a scientist again.
And does it feel good to be back?
Oh, it feels amazing. I remember how much I love physics. And I always knew that I loved
Which
it,
to
but
me as a
actually doing
musician
it,
is always a strange thing. I think physics, oh my goodness, I could never remember the equations and I never found it that exciting. But you're bubbling.
I'm getting back into it and I'm seeing the beauty of it and how just incredible it is that we can know about these tiny things that we can't see with the human eye, yet we can understand through mathematics.
And it's actually got a Hollywood feel to it at the moment because of the film about Stephen Hawking and
Yes.
also the Imitation Game, the Cumberbatch doing the Enigma man, the man who broke the, so it is actually quite, in one word, sexy now, isn't it?
Yeah, sexy to be clever.
That's the line I think we finish on. Sexy to be clever. Fiona Bissett, thank you very much indeed for coming in. Now, when you've got your foot under the table, okay, in maybe 6
Yes.
months' time, you must come back and tell us how it's going because it'll be fascinating to see how you, at the forefront of something which is new and, the university is engaging with, is actually helping.
Yes, I imagine my knowledge and understanding will develop greatly in that time. So
And
yes,
whether,
I'd
of
love
course,
to.
you'll be an inspiration to others. Particularly if you're working with younger students who think, well, what happens if I have a family? What happens? No, you are an
there's a way
example of
back.
there is life after a family.
Indeed.
Fiona, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on Siren 107.3 FM.
Thank you.